English Bible NIV 영어성경 2. Kings 13 열왕기하 2. Kings 1. 1. After Ahab's death, Moab rebelled against Israel. 2. Now Ahaziah had fallen through the lattice of his upper room in Samaria and injured himself. So he sent messengers, saying to them, Go and consult Baal-zebub, the god of Ekron, to see if I will recover from this injury. 3. But the angel of the Lord said to Elijah the Tishbite, Go up and meet the messengers of the king of Samaria. And ask them, Is it because there is no God in Israel that you are going off to consult Baal-zebub, the god of Ekron? 4. Therefore this is what the Lord says, You will not leave the bed you are lying on. You will certainly die. So Elijah went. 5. When the messengers returned to the king, he asked them, Why have you come back? 6. A man came to meet us, they replied. And he said to us, Go back to the king who sent you and tell him, This is what the Lord says. Is it because there is no God in Israel that you are sending men to consult Baal-zebub, the god of Ekron? Therefore you will not leave the bed you are lying on. You will certainly die. 7. The king asked them, What kind of man was it who came to meet you and told you this? 8. They replied, He was a man with a garment of hair and with a leather belt around his waist. The king said, That was Elijah the Tishbite. 9. Then he sent to Elijah a captain with his company of 50 men. The captain went up to Elijah, who was sitting on the top of a hill, and said to him, Man of God, the king says, Come down. 10. Elijah answered the captain, If I am a man of God, may fire come down from heaven and consume you and your 50 men. Then fire fell from heaven and consumed the captain and his men. 11. At this the king sent to Elijah another captain with his 50 men. The captain said to him, Man of God, this is what the king says, Come down at once. 12. If I am a man of God, Elijah replied, May fire come down from heaven and consume you and your 50 men. Then the fire of God fell from heaven and consumed him and his 50 men. 13. So the king sent a third captain with his 50 men. This third captain went up and fell on his knees before Elijah. Man of God, he begged, Please have respect for my life and the lives of these 50 men, your servants. 14. See, fire has fallen from heaven and consumed the first 2 captains and all their men. But now have respect for my life. 15. The angel of the Lord said to Elijah, Go down with him, do not be afraid of him. So Elijah got up and went down with him to the king. 16. He told the king, This is what the Lord says. Is it because there is no God in Israel for you to consult that you have sent messengers to consult Baal-zebub, the god of Ekron? Because you have done this, you will never leave the bed you are lying on. You will certainly die. 17. So he died, according to the word of the Lord that Elijah had spoken. Because Ahaziah had no son, Joram succeeded him as king in the 2nd year of Jehoram son of Jehoshaphat king of Judah. 18. As for all the other events of Ahaziah's reign, and what he did, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Israel? 2. Kings 2. 2. Kings 3. 1. Joram son of Ahab became king of Israel in Samaria in the 18th year of Jehoshaphat king of Judah, and he reigned 12 years. 2. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord, but not as his father and mother had done. He got rid of the sacred stone of Baal that his father had made. 3. Nevertheless he clung to the sins of Jeroboam son of Nebat, which he had caused Israel to commit. He did not turn away from them. 4. Now Mesha king of Moab raised sheep, and he had to supply the king of Israel with 100,000 lambs and with the wool of 100,000 rams. 5. But after Ahab died, the king of Moab rebelled against the king of Israel. 6. So at that time King Joram set out from Samaria and mobilized all Israel. 7. He also sent this message to Jehoshaphat king of Judah: "The king of Moab has rebelled against me. Will you go with me to fight against Moab?" "I will go with you," he replied. "I am as you are, my people as your people, my horses as your horses." 8. By what route shall we attack? He asked. Through the desert of Edom, he answered. 9. So the king of Israel set out with the king of Judah and the king of Edom. After a roundabout march of 7 days, the army had no more water for themselves or for the animals with them. 10. What? Exclaimed the king of Israel. Has the Lord called us 3 kings together only to hand us over to Moab? 11. But Jehoshaphat asked, "Is there no prophet of the Lord here, that we may inquire of the Lord through him?" An officer of the king of Israel answered, "Elisha son of Shaphat is here. He used to pour water on the hands of Elijah." 12. Jehoshaphat said, "The word of the Lord is with him." So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat and the king of Edom went down to him. 13. Elisha said to the king of Israel, "What do we have to do with each other? Go to the prophets of your father and the prophets of your mother." "No," the king of Israel answered, "because it was the Lord who called us 3 kings together to hand us over to Moab." 14. Elisha said, "As surely as the Lord Almighty lives, whom I serve, if I did not have respect for the presence of Jehoshaphat king of Judah, I would not look at you or even notice you." 15. But now bring me a harpist. While the harpist was playing, the hand of the Lord came upon Elisha. 16. And he said, "This is what the Lord says: make this valley full of ditches." 17. For this is what the Lord says you will see: neither wind nor rain, yet this valley will be filled with water, and you, your cattle and your other animals will drink. 18. This is an easy thing in the eyes of the Lord, he will also hand Moab over to you. 19. You will overthrow every fortified city and every major town. You will cut down every good tree, stop up all the springs, and ruin every good field with stones. 20. The next morning, about the time for offering the sacrifice, there it was, water flowing from the direction of Edom. And the land was filled with water. 21. Now all the Moabites had heard that the kings had come to fight against them, so every man, young and old, who could bear arms was called up and stationed on the border. 22. When they got up early in the morning, the sun was shining on the water. To the Moabites across the way, the water looked red, like blood. 23. That's blood, they said. Those kings must have fought and slaughtered each other. Now to the plunder, Moab. 24. But when the Moabites came to the camp of Israel, the Israelites rose up and fought them until they fled. And the Israelites invaded the land and slaughtered the Moabites. 25. They destroyed the towns, and each man threw a stone on every good field until it was covered. They stopped up all the springs and cut down every good tree. Only Kir-Hareseth was left with its stones in place, but men armed with slings surrounded it and attacked it as well. 26. When the king of Moab saw that the battle had gone against him, He took with him 700 swordsmen to break through to the king of Edom, but they failed. 27. Then he took his firstborn son, who was to succeed him as king, and offered him as a sacrifice on the city wall. The fury against Israel was great, they withdrew and returned to their own land.